Get Up Nation. My name is Ben Biddick. I am the creator and host of the Get Up Nation podcast, where I serve individuals, organizations, and societies to develop and sustain resilience and perseverance. I'm the co-author of Get Up, The Art of Perseverance, with former Major League Baseball player Adam Greenberg. The Get Up Nation podcast is brought to you in partnership with GotYourSixCoffee.com, where Navy veteran Eric Hadley is committed to serving first responders, veterans, and their families through a variety of nonprofit organizations. No stranger to adversity, Eric has fused necessity of coffee with his passion for public service. You're already purchasing coffee. Why not empower your coffee with purpose? Why not purchase coffee that not only has your six, but also has the backs of those who don a uniform of service for our communities and great country? Learn more about Eric and his freshly roasted, award-winning coffee at GotYourSixCoffee.com. Recently had the honor and privilege of speaking with Tsao-Lin Moy. Tsao-Lin has over 18 years of experience in alternative and Chinese medicine, is a licensed acupuncturist and herbalist, and the best-selling author of Will I Ever Get Pregnant? The Smart Woman's Guide to Getting Pregnant Naturally Over 40. She is the founder of Integrative Healing Arts in New York City, which utilizes acupuncture, herbal medicine, and energy healing to treat patients. Her expertise in fertility helps couples conceive naturally using her fertility acupuncture protocols and Chinese medicine. I am honored to share with all of you Tsao-Lin Moy. Tsao-Lin, welcome to Get Up Nation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an honor to speak with you today. Thank you for taking time out. We've already started talking about all the exciting things that are happening in our world, and that you are helping lead the way to help create our finer world for us all. I'm so grateful here. Can you start off with where you live and work? Are you living in New York City right now?
Yeah, I live in New York City. I'm actually in my office right now, which is located at Union Square in Manhattan.
Wow. Excellent. And I hope things are getting better as far as how COVID has affected your area there. We just are, in awe of frontline workers and really grieving for the families who have lost loved ones. But I love dealing with people like you who are in the health world, who bring wellness to people, bring healing and hope. So let's talk a little bit to start. We'll start with your book and we'll see where this takes us.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So can you tell me what led to your passion and commitment to serving patients who want to become pregnant?
Well, great question. 1 in 8 couples in the US struggles with infertility. And about 10 million, actually 10% or 6.1 million women have trouble having a baby. And I believe that most women can get pregnant naturally, right? And so, and also that fertility is not just about biology and hormones. There's more to it. But for all of these couples, a lot of them they think their only hope is to have IVF or IUI. There's a lot of misinformation about age. And so I wrote this as a way for women and couples that are not in New York to, how I work, which has to do with helping them get themselves into alignment with their mindsets, exercises for them to do to get really clear and make the best choices, for them as naturally as possible, right? And so that's, when I see like how many women are just, and people who want to have a family, how much they suffer when it's not happening. And so to offer resources to help guide them and not scare them, right?
Right. Yeah. So tell us about where you gathered your expertise. You've been you have many years of experience in the wellness field. Tell us about all of your credentials and what has gotten to the point where you're an expert in helping people achieve that awe of creating another life.
Oh, okay. Well, credentials, a lot of education, but the biggest, I would say, is experiential. So in East Asian medicine, really, the longer you practice, the more expert you become in what you do. And then you start to use all of that knowledge. So you have all the book knowledge, but then you really have to apply it. Right. And I would say that it's really my patients that started to come to me that then guided me to like develop this, to really help them and have that success. And over, many patients, you start to realize, hey, there are these things that seem to be a commonality that are showing up that can apply to everyone in terms of, how they think and what they're being told and what they're doing. And so that is, I would say, becomes like where the expertise comes from, just being able to then recognize like, okay, I'll guide you. This is what you need to be like focusing on, and really teaching the patients how to heal themselves. They have this power. We all have this power, right, within us. It's not, a special group that only, can like delve it out. It's really connecting and understanding what your body does. And then you can make these informed choices and shifts. Right. So it's not out of control. It's in your control.
Wow. And in reading through your book, there's some concepts of that perfectionism, or a concept of it, and we when we think of something that we want, we get an idealized version in our mind of what that looks like or what that experience feels like. Right. So sometimes that can be problematic, right?
Oh, yes, because we can't control that. What happens is we focus on the numbers, right? You see it with students. They want to get the A. And so they don't want to get anything wrong. But the thing is that the questions that where you kind of make the mistakes are the ones that you remember the most about correcting. And so we worry about the number and the grade versus what are we actually getting and learning. So the focus is really like not doing it perfectly. It's really also understanding, like it becomes a practice, right? So, and it's not practice makes perfect. It's really practice is the mother of skill. You get better and better at it, right? You just get better at it. And then you're able to navigate when things aren't, because the rest of the world, as we can see, is not in control. A lot is out of our control, right? And so the more you try to control, the more that you're going to get tossed and turned around. So yeah, perfection is one of those things that stress people out, and it actually causes them to get further and further, especially when it comes to health. And with having a baby and fertility, there is this kind of divine timing. And so it's really, you got to like be in the best possible position, like catching the ball, right?
Yeah. And will you share a little bit about like the mainstream medicine, the way that it's failing us in this regard to really apprehend, this type of health that makes us fertile, that makes us ready for this experience, or that makes us present in the moment? Will you share some of the ways we're being failed today by mainstream medicine?
Sure. So we're in the Western model, it's considered a broken and fixed model, right? You can get blood tests taken, and you can actually see that there's a trend, but they're like, oh, you're good. Like, I don't have to give you any medication yet, right? The thing is that if you're trending, then there's a time to prevent and intervene. So the broken and fix is like, you only go to see a physician when something is really wrong. And there are so many other things that you could have done before, right? Now with fertility, struggling with fertility is a symptom, right? If your overall health is really good, then that's also going to have to do, your fertility is going to be good. So if your sleep, your digestion, stress levels, all of that. So where it fails is just kind of focusing only on hormonal numbers, only on the particular ovaries or uterus, all of those like details, but those are the symptoms of the bigger thing, right? And so you have to address the whole health, like all of it.
Right.
And this is applies to, I mean, with fertility, it's very specific because you actually, if you can actually see where that's making an impact. But overall health, most of us don't realize that over time, our behaviors, our patterns, our stress levels actually diminish our health. And little by little, you work a little bit every day, you get greater health and longevity. And so that's that concept, the long term versus like the quick fix.
Sure.
And that's where, as individuals, we have to do, take care of ourselves, right? And not wait for someone to just tell us, right? That's where the difference is where's the power? The power is you have the power.
And that's a challenge when we have the ingrained mindset that says, a doctor is here to rescue me at some point if something, versus
it's a victim.
Yeah, it's a victim mentality versus, and so that switch then becomes, so how do you empower, I'm sure, I mean, you could probably tell us, you could probably do a seminar for the next month of all the ways that people can do this, but if you could just give us a little bit of insight into the person who is grappling with that and kind of realizing that I have more power than I may have been aware of. Where do we start at that point?
Okay, so if they're at the point when they realize they have more power, that is a fantastic, because they're already making choices. And one of the things that I recognize when someone even picks up the phone to talk to me, that they've already started to shift to look at alternatives. They're already somewhere recognizing that the model is not working for them. And now they're dipping their toe into something that may be a little bit on the fringe, right? Based on our, Western culture. But somehow innately they sense that it's in a lot, there's something there. So then that is that part of them that's starting to wake up and to take action. One of the things is to really, what I call is a fertility mindset, and that can be a health mindset too, is to really start to weed out all of the noise and how to like get out of chat rooms that are just filled with a lot of negativity and problems, right? You got to clear out like what is influencing you, because that's not true. And one of the things that I talk about, yes, there's truth to it, but is it your truth? So all of the statistics are from other people, and then it's being applied to you. So there's an aspect where, yes, we share a biology, we share a lot of things, but it isn't you, right? So that's where, and even in a scientific model, they look at a sampling of people and then they apply it to the population. Now, the thing with fertility also is like around age. And one of the things I write about in the book is that if you start looking about your age, you're going to come up with all of the things of why your age is going to make a difference. And yet there are so many women that are able to have babies in their 40s that don't follow the statistics, which get measured based on the couples and women that are having trouble. Right. So then they're assuming like, oh, everybody's having trouble if they're in that same category. But that's also not true either. Right. So it's really to like take the information and just really be able to look at it with like fresh eyes and not take on like that, the meaning like, oh, that means for me now I'm, that's going to happen to me. Right.
Wow. And that it's exciting. It's exciting because when you start to realize that all of the circumstances and situations and things where we feel so helpless, that we have a role to play in it, and it just awakens us to this sudden reality that, okay, so now this world is much bigger, much deeper, much more mysterious than I'm aware of. And then we start to find really good things in there, don't we? What are the things that when you help your clients, they come out of that and they start to awaken to that? When do they start to really experience that that joy in creating fertility?
Well, they start to experience it when they recognize that they're not as stressed out, and they also start to make a stronger, we call that mind-body connection. They go, wow, like I slept better. So before that, they might not have even realized that they had poor sleep. So oftentimes you don't realize that you had a problem until like, hey, you know what? My back doesn't hurt anymore. Like, oh, I forgot. I just was able to walk up the stairs, and I didn't even think about it until I got up to the top, and it doesn't hurt. Right. And so that's to kind of like be able to visibly recognize the changes that are happening. And then they're like, oh, if I can do this, then I can do that. Right. So it's like someone who's losing weight, little bit. And then one day they look in the mirror and they're like, oh my God, my pants are too big, and it happened over time. And then like, wow, all I did was I added like 15 minutes of walking every day, and I stopped drinking soda.
Yeah.
And then when they see just that little bit and consistency makes a difference. And then also with fertility, I have them like track their cycle, very basic understanding, so that they can connect with what's going on. And so it's not like, I don't understand, why is it not happening? It's really, you need to know yourself to really know those things. And so that's when it'll start pretty quick. And they need to be committed and have confidence, right? And know that they make a difference, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I'd love to ask you more about is energy work. I know that more and more people are awakening to the power and the practical value of meditation, the practical value of present moment awareness, and energy work is becoming something that people are also understanding or hungering for or finding results in more and more today. Will you tell us a little bit about energy work, removing negative energy blocks, and what the significance of what this is?
Oh, that's a fantastic. Okay, so we, a lot of us hold, let's say, trauma in their body. I'll call it trauma that we've experienced, right? So emotionally, the thought patterns, negative thoughts that we have, maybe it was like somebody said something, right? And we actually physically hold it in our body, and that becomes a block. And so recognizing that, so for instance, when someone has an injury, naturally the body will heal within a certain period of time, right? So let's say a sprained ankle, depending on how bad it is, maybe like 3 to 4 weeks should resolve. If it doesn't, and it keeps dragging on and on and on, there's more going on with the injury. There's some other aspect that is influencing other systemic inflammation that now is showing up because the ankle is not getting better, right? And there are thoughts that are related to that. So what happens is when you get a stronger mind-body connection, and also like doing meditation, doing a practice, you'll hear like the stuff. You're like, where's that coming from? Or you become aware of something that you think about yourself. Like a lot of times people are like, oh, I hate my body. Oh, my stomach. It's so fat. I hate it. I'm like, don't tell yourself that you hate a part of yourself. You need to love that part of yourself, right? So then you're creating this negative thing that's there. Or creating a block or an issue. Every time you go to it, it's like, ugh, right? And so that interrupts the flow of energy. That interrupts the flow of healing, because it's not allowing to just release it. It's kind of an attachment to it, right? And in Buddhism, we look at the attachment can be positive and negative, right? Like you just have to allow things to flow.
Yeah.
And so really, like with acupuncture, with body work, with being more conscious, you become aware of places that things are hanging out. And very much for women, with fertility, there's also a lot of, how do they feel about themselves, really connected to their heart chakra, right? Their belief, if they're good enough, like there's a lot of all of that intermixes. And when you recognize that and also release that, that allows for, we could say, spirit to come in, or for that energy to flow. And then you get pregnant. Mm-hmm. And so it's really like releasing things you don't need in order for something else to come in.
That's great. And I wanted to ask too, from the male perspective, for men, that what can men do to be proactive about this? What can, to be a part of the process of fertility, of conception? What can men do to be a positive part of that process, or
well, they have to be part of the process, right?
But yeah, absolutely, yeah. And how could, like, in a way that's
well, I have the exercises. I have some in the book where I talk about it, and a lot of it is, with infertility. There's so much focus on the woman, and she usually takes charge of it, and is something wrong, and I need to do something about it. And the male kind of is oftentimes in the background, like, I don't know what to do. What should I do? And really, what I found is that, the couples that decide, okay, we're both going to shift our diet together. We're both going to, take care of what we need to take care of. That makes a really big difference. Otherwise, when it's time to have relations, then for men, it's not, on demand. It becomes very unpleasant, and then that creates even more tension. And so one of the exercises really is like, make it into a great ritual, make it into where you have like your favorite food, that it's something to look forward to do together, not just it's that time, let's go, and I see that happen a lot, because the tension is so high, like it's got to be now, and we need, and then that suddenly creates even more of this energetic barrier, right? And then it's kind of like, my wife is getting crazy, or like just from the online chats to all of the Google searches and stuff, it becomes so obsessive that it really puts a big strain on relationships. Right. So yes, to really take care, what the men, the male part is to really, like, it's a project together. Right. One of the exercises I give is a vision board where both have the same vision. What's life going to look like together? Like, what is this picture? And then that makes more of this connection to like move towards the same goal. Yeah.
I like that from the very beginning of the process. Then it becomes a shared experience. Both are fully invested. It's a pleasing, invitation to join together, so that when the child is there, and when sleep is not necessarily, you're not getting necessarily 8 hours of sleep at night. You're maybe, you're dealing with all sorts of different changes in your bodies and your sleep patterns, and in welcoming this child, new considerations. You're in a new world. Then I would think that from that very beginning, if you have that joining together in that way, it makes it more into a united experience from the very beginning. And am I right in saying that would carry over through some of the challenges of being parents?
Oh, yeah, into fatherhood. I mean, like in all cultures, a religious perspective, right? The couple is, when they're together, it's considered a spiritual binding, right? So you've got the civil, but when you bring into, why are these two people together? They want to be together. There's some energy that pulls them together. Right. And the consummation, or the evidence of spiritual binding, is a child, right? It's between the two parents and their combined DNA. And then also something else has got to be, coming in to create that spark of life, right? Together. And so later on, like the more involved as a couple working together, that carries over into parenthood, into fathering. And we see more now stay-at-home dads, that they are involved, the more involved. And so with couples where that isn't so much, you see later on in the relationship where maybe the dad comes home and he doesn't really see the kids, he doesn't do much, maybe the weekend, and then that further, even though I don't know if there's research on it, but, there's a lot of issues around, fathers being present or not present, right? And involved, and also for men to really, connect with their children.
Right.
That's also like a cultural thing too, kind of feeling like I can't hug my child, or, it's not right, or, and I think early on that it makes such a difference. And really, this is about creating life, right? It's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. That is something I just love to talk about. I love to talk about those concepts. A lot of concepts from, I guess, masculine concepts that have been passed down in our country here, largely about, especially, I've served in, alpha male, hyper masculine environments where it's just, men have to be this barrier, this strength that shows no weakness, that is not ever vulnerable, that is impenetrable and completely reliable. And how much dysfunction has come from that in so many of these environments, because men are not able to share what's happening or to process their thoughts and emotions. It leads to suicide. It leads to disconnection, failed marriages, and deep-seated frustrations. We've talked about how, the psychedelics and some of the new things that that science and leaders in that wellness and health fields are trying to find ways for people to face post-traumatic stress disorder, or these challenges that come we just get sent into these misconceptions about what health is, or what thriving is, or what success is. And then it seems to me that to have a true success is to be a living person, to be alive and aware of it, but then also to connect with someone else, and then to create a life from that. There are so many lessons that the child draws from watching these parents and how they interact with each other, and also with the child, and how men and women are creating tomorrow's world in the mind of their child, in the experiences and the senses of their children, and really shaping what our world and what future cultures will be as they grow. I think it's just such a powerful set of interactions that should ultimately, I guess, from my perspective, are sacred beyond measure. And we talk about FMLA and giving people time off. I mean, if we want a healthy world, I am just so in support of what you're talking about, is these people drawing together, becoming fertile in their bodies and their minds and with one another, so that we can have people who relate well to each other, who face adversity, who can have conflict and resolve it without, in a civil manner. Tons of different ways that focus could create so much good in the world. Would you agree?
I totally agree. I mean, and what you were, the interesting, what you were talking about, and we were talking about before, with post-traumatic stress disorder, that, scrunching down your feelings and being, and not being able to express out, horrible things.
Right.
That goes internal, right? It has to go somewhere. It needs to clear. So even what we were talking about, like negative energy, and how that will disrupt with fertility, that when we are exposed to very traumatic experiences and then not allowed to talk about it, not allowed to feel, it goes somewhere and it creates damage. It really does. And so, one of the things that is extremely powerful that they do is the acupuncture for the PTSD within the military, which is a tremendous success. And a lot of that is because of the way that the acupuncture taps into the central nervous system to help calm that system down. It's also a way of, it's a mind-body connection. You become more aware of your body. So it doesn't seem like it's out of control. And like, that's that part that, you know, like someone who needs to always be in control and in charge and alert, like always in that like fight or flight, you know, vigilance,
Right.
that their body, then it's very hard for them to come down, like to actually have that, the cycle. It's like a wave. You have to have that. And if it's just one way, then what happens is that you can't sustain it.
Right.
And then that becomes a problem of, wait, I'm not strong. I can't sustain it.
Right.
But it really needs to, there needs to be that balance, right? Because otherwise you just have people, they're breaking people. That behavior is really destroying human beings, right? It really is very destructive.
Absolutely. 100%. Will you, and I just wanted to ask, I love the chapters names of your book. They just draw me in.
Great.
It's so great. It's like, I am so intrigued. People need to pick up this book. This book will be, you'll see links below in the show notes when this goes live. And so anybody who is really looking at becoming healthy in their life and bringing another life into this world and drawing close to someone else in the process of creating life, I highly recommend this book. Will you share just a little bit near the end of the book, you have a few chapters that are called The Way of Heaven and The Great Leap Forward. Will you share a little bit about the significance of these titles?
Okay, yeah. So the way of heaven is actually a term which is known as like the Tao or the way. It's in Taoism. And so it also forms, it's also like universal laws, like the law of attraction, the law of abundance, all of those. So in ancient culture, and this is also has to do with medicine, is the same thing, is really to be in the now and in the way and in the flow. So it's literally like being opportunity and preparedness, right? So that's what they define as luck. To be in the way is really to be ready and connected, and then it happens, right? And then you're in the flow. So that's really what that chapter is. And then the Great Leap Forward is really where I use it because of the term it's a very Maoist term, right? It came from like the Great Leap Forward, is really about it's just like moving forward with this and shifting. I know that one of the other topics is to unlearn what we have learned. And so that's like part of that, like to depart from the ideas of who we think we are, right? All the negativity and all of the thoughts and stuff like that, and really just like move forward and just do that. So literally you're going to become a different person or really like get like all of that weight or, stuff that's been hanging out on you. You just, it comes off, and then you're able to move forward with it.
Beautiful. Before we get into the final portion of the show, is there anything else that you'd like to share with Get Up Nation? Is there any message of inspiration or encouragement that you'd like to give if people are out there, and anybody listening to this who has been having trouble getting pregnant or feels very unhealthy, has been amazed by what you've been talking about and really is craving a different experience in life? Do you have any words of encouragement or insight for them?
Yes. Okay. So the healing that you seek is already inside of you. You have that power. The thing to do is you have to take action, and don't worry about the perfection, kind of what we talked about, that there are things to take one or decide change one small thing, like, okay, no more diet soda, or I'm going to start walking a little bit, whatever it is, just do something different, like do and not look for the perfection, but just to make a small change, because that is going to make a difference and break the spell. I would also just say, don't, if someone tells you, oh, you can't, or don't really listen to, just recognize that that's their like part of their perspective, and that it's not like the rule, like the law. Like one of the things, like if there is a God, they're not it, right? You know yourself more than someone else could, right? Because you're experiencing you. Right. And so you want to make that connection so you get better at, being in charge of you.
Amazing. All right. I always end the show with 6 questions to help my listeners understand, to understand the why within my phenomenal guests. Are you willing to run through these 6 quick questions with me?
All right, let's go. Oh, I thought we did the 6. Okay, go. All right.
Who are you thankful for today?
Oh, well, I'm definitely thankful for you for having me on. And I can tell that you read the book, which is awesome. Definitely. And I'm just thankful that, we're here, like to be living at this time. Yeah.
Well, I'm honored by that. And I feel a great honor to be talking with you today. You're doing so many amazing things for so many. It's my honor to share your voice here on the show. And now that we've covered who you're thankful for today, what are you thankful for today?
Oh, well, I'm thankful for, it's a beautiful sunny day in New York. Nice. And it's clear and crisp weather, and everybody is, playing safe and being careful. So
good. How do you fuel the fire within you?
Oh, well, how do I fuel the fire within me? Let's see, what's going to be a good answer for that? Definitely, writing articles, helping one person every day if I can to shift their life, to make them happy, whatever little bit. That's how, if I can smile at someone or say good morning, even in New York City, right? I'll be like, hi, good morning. Shake it up a little bit.
Great. Awesome. And what is one thing adversity has taught you to value?
Adversity has taught me to value the experience, is to really, like, you learn so much from adversity. And right now, as difficult as things seem, that it's also something it's a big learning. We're going to get a big lesson. And it's always hard to see the lesson when we're in it, but we're in a big lesson right now. So that's what I would say. Yeah, you get stronger. You definitely get stronger.
What are you doing today you may have never thought you could?
Today means specifically today, or
just like presently?
In the present. Well, I never thought that I was going to be doing so many podcasts, or like so many Zoom calls, I would say, and being on podcasts and doing like TV interviews. And even, a year ago, I never would have thought that I would, if someone told me, listen, in a year from now, you're going to be, you'll have written a book, you're going to be doing, podcasts and writing articles, I would have said, probably not. But, that's also what I have to say. This whole pandemic really like kind of pushed me into being much more willing to be visible. And like, I really got to get this message out. As many people as I can help. That's going to make a difference. Like, how can I make a difference?
Amazing. And what will you do tomorrow that you may have never thought you could?
Oh, the big tomorrow. Wow. Let's see. Tomorrow that I never thought that I could. I don't know. Go on a world tour.
There you go.
I'm going on the world tour. I used to joke about, sometimes I would joke about stuff like, yeah, one day when you see me on TV, when you see me on the Dr. Oz show, like that, like a joke. The thing is that the things that you actually put out there with a certain amount of intention, and definitely with fertility, right? You have to kind of like make that decision that oftentimes they come true, which is, what you think really matters. So think good thoughts.
Absolutely. Amazing. It's been amazing talking with you here. I'm sure the audience here has learned and been inspired from you. I'm so grateful you've taken the time. How can people learn more about you and your amazing work?
Okay, well, there's my website, which is integrativehealingarts.com. And that would probably that's the base. But if they want to follow me on Instagram, that would be at my name, Tsao-Lin Moy. I think you got to spell it out. They can find me there.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you for helping us learn more about getting up when life knocks us down.
Great. Thank you so much.